On today's show, what went wrong in the third period? The Ottawa Senators win streak is over. They fall to the Montreal Canadiens 6-3.
And we have a very special interview with Sens Foundation President Jacqueline Belsito.
This is Brady Tkachuk, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators, the only daily podcast covering the Sens. Down in the desert, I'm Ross Levitan, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Today is Wednesday, March 19th, and Pilsy, as the great Josh Weinstein once said, you win some, you lose some, it's all part of the experience.
The irony of that is that quote was in Montreal after the Senators lost against the Montreal Canadiens last time too. My God, I am sick of losing against the Montreal Canadiens. Take me back, Ross, to the days where we were beating them for a 9th straight game. Unfortunately, the pendulum is swinging the other way. My God, it better not go all the way to 9 straight losses up against them. But, oh, that was a tough one. And we knew the win streak had to end eventually, Ross, but I did not want it to end like this. Like, Jack and I were talking after the postcast. I think I would have traded sweeping the Leafs, losing that game, to get the win up against Montreal. What, like, is that crazy? I feel like that's fair play.
I think it would have been fair play if this was the last game of the season against Montreal. But there's one more. The Senators can salvage. They're not being swept like Ottawa swept Montreal for 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
If they win the last one. Now this becomes a critically important game. Montreal now 4 points back of Ottawa. Sens, Habs, both in the wild card. And now you look at it like the Sens gave the Habs 6 points. Imagine where the Habs would be without those 3 wins against Ottawa. So I get what Jack's saying. I just think that was a little emotional after last night's game.
Yeah. And look, we don't want to lose to either of those teams, obviously. But I just think, man, it would have been so good to put the Habs in their place there. Stop them beating us for a 3rd straight game in Montreal. And those were 2 massive points for the Habs there. Like that, those 2 points give them big life in this playoff race. I don't care if they finish ahead of us or not, but I just really don't want to see them have any success. I don't want to see them in the playoffs. I want to see them outside looking in for another year. So the fact that those 2 points up against the Sens last night gave them so much life, it pains me. And the fact it's a 2-1 game going into the 3rd period, and it ends up 6-3 for the Habs. Like, that just got out of control.
Well, it was a 2-1 game for Ottawa going into the 3rd period. Then after it was tied 2-2, Travis Hamonic, of all people, scores his first goal in 76 games to give Ottawa a lead, and it was a squeaker. Bad goal for Samuel Montembeault to let in. You think that would give you some sort of momentum, but you got to give credit where it's due. A tip-in goal for Josh Anderson it was Lane Hudson's goal that tied it, and then a tip-in goal, or was that the second one? It was second
Lane
goal.
Hudson's goal tied it
at 2.
Yeah,
and then Josh Anderson's goal tied it at 3. And then, I mean, what did you think about the penalty? I mean, it was definitely a penalty, but what did you think about Shane Pinto's decision? It's kind of a reaction, right? You fall down on a 4-on-2 and you're looking, oh my goodness, I can't let it go the other way. But we had already seen Alex Newhook miss on a 2-on-1, just fanned on the puck. Would you rather have a 4-on-2 the other way, which is what it was going to be, or a 2-minute power play with under 10 minutes left?
I mean, that's so easy for us to sit here and in hindsight have a discussion, Ross. But I mean, that's what we do as podcasters. I'm going to say I'm not upset about the penalty. Was it a bad time for that penalty to happen? Absolutely. But I totally understand Shane Pinto in that scenario. Maybe sometimes there's plays where you're like, I don't care what I'm going to do. I'm taking this guy down. And if I get a penalty, so be it. Sometimes that's a play that makes sense to a player in the moment and you could justify later on. Whether that was it or not, I appreciate that Shane Pinto in that moment was like, oh my God, we had an odd man rush going this way, and now we've turned it over. That's going to result in an odd man rush for them going that way. Whether I take a penalty or not, I have to be super aggressive here and try to stop or slow him down. And he ends up going too far and gets the penalty. I'm not going to call it a bad penalty, because a bad penalty is when, you're in the offensive zone and you're the one in control of the puck and you take like a high sticking or just a lazy penalty. So I'm not going to call that one a bad penalty, but it was very unfortunate how it went. And honestly, Ross, that was one of the best penalty kills we've seen from the Ottawa Senators in a long time. They were shutting down the Habs at the blue line. If the Habs did get in, immediately 2 guys putting pressure, getting sticks on it, clearing it. But it's just the last couple seconds they couldn't survive. Even after a really great Linus Ullmark save, it just squeaks out from him trying to cover it up, and Nick Suzuki buries it.
Yeah, really unfortunate, because you're right. That was probably their best PK of the streak. That was 12 straight penalties they had killed off until that one in the third period. And then it just gets out of hand with 2 empty netters. And I see a lot of Habs fans being like, oh, Brady was dashed too. Yeah, both were on the empty net goals. Now, did Brady have a great game? No. Did Tim Stützle have a great game? No. I thought that line needed to be better. Claude Giroux gets an assist to keep it.
I thought Claude had a good game, though. He was 87.5% in the dot.
Yeah, that's fair. But they weren't the best line for the Ottawa Senators. Not even close. And neither was the Habs top line. I know Suzuki gets that power play goal that ends up being the game winner, but at 5-on-5, that wasn't their best line either. It was Josh Anderson playing well throughout the game. I thought Brendan Gallagher had a great game for the Habs. It was just, I know, and like those are players that are overpaid over the hill in terms of age. Like those aren't the players you expect to beat you if you're going to lose to the Habs. But the one thing I'll say, and it pains me to say it, you got to give a hat tip. The Habs are the hottest team in the National Hockey League since the Four Nations break. They're 8-1-2. Yeah. Like they're not just beating Ottawa, they're beating the Florida Panthers, they're beating all these great teams. So it's going to be really interesting to see, because the Colorado Avalanche are avalanching into town after Toronto tonight. They play in Ottawa Thursday and then in Montreal on Saturday. They're 8-1-1 in their last 10 games. They're coming in really clicking, and we know they're an amazing team. They loaded up at the trade deadline as well. Brock Nelson comes in. They're just an amazing hockey team. So let's see how they look through these next 3 games. I'm going to be very curious to take the temperature, and Ottawa's in a favorable spot there that they get Colorado on the second half of back-to-back after they play in Toronto tonight. So look, the standings are closing in, and we're going to look at that after the break, but there are also teams that have dropped out of the race. So this is all to look at in the next segment. We'll get to our great interview at the end of today's show with Jacqueline Belsito, the president of the Senators Foundation, the community foundation for the Sens. But overall, like, is this a flush it game? Is this a learn something, a miss opportunity? How are you labeling this game when we look back at the end of the season?
I mean, kind of all 3, Ross. But I think I'll highlight most the missed opportunity here. Like, if this had been a game, Ross, where kind of like the last time they played the Habs, where it just clearly was not their game, Ullmark wasn't playing well, and the Habs jump all over them, whatever. That, like, you're going to have those stinkers once in a while. They're coming off a 6-game lose streak. It happens. But they were in control coming into the third period. Now, did I think that they were dominating this game? No. But they had a 2-1 lead, and then they squander it, and then they get the lead again. So they had the opportunity to play a style of game that they've actually been able to play recently in this winning streak. We've seen them with just minor leads heading into the third period and then being able to shut it down. But unfortunately, they weren't able to do it in this one. And something Jack and I discussed, I'm interested to get your opinion on this, Ross, is kind of strange that Travis Green didn't use a timeout in this game. We were saying that this would have been the perfect game to call a timeout, try to slow down momentum at some point, especially the crowd at the Bell Center is absolutely a big part of energy and momentum shifts. We were kind of
calling penalties.
Sure. Yeah. However you want to phrase it. But like, I think that was a situation where Travis Green leaves this game with a timeout in his back pocket when I really would have liked him to use it at one point or another, especially when they pulled the goalie and they had opportunity in the offensive zone. Like, that would have been one. Calm down, take the crowd out of it, draw up a play, and try to get something going.
I mean, they almost did score when they were down 1. Tim Stützle backdoor on a Claude Giroux feed was that close to tying it up, but instead it just misses his stick and it goes the other way. I mean, the score looks worse than the game was, obviously. 2 empty net goals will do that. And the power play goal there to put them up with less than 5 minutes left. My guess was that Travis Green was hoping to get through that PK and then reset. But yeah, I think that's fair. Not to have a timeout at the end of a game where it's in all essence a 1-goal loss with the empty netters making it look worse. I think that's a fair complaint, but I don't think it made or broke the game either, because on that PK, Giroux was out there a bit, but like not a lot of those PK guys are who you would have had over the boards. Like Brady wasn't out there. Timmy wasn't out there. Those guys were rested and ready for the final push of the last 4 minutes.
But it's not so much about the rest, Ross. It's about slowing the momentum of the home team and the crowd. I think it was the key thing there.
So we can say this was not the biggest Sens Habs game since 2017?
No, it didn't even really matter. Who cares? The biggest one is in April at the CTC.
Exactly. Okay, well, let's take a look at the standings. And right now, there's only one Canadian team not in a playoff spot. We'll tell you who that is after the break. Get to a great interview to end today's show. This is the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Look, there's nothing like watching basketball live. The energy of the crowd, the sound of the sneakers on the court, maybe even a celebrity sighting courtside, especially in Toronto. Drake usually courtside. You got good music going on in the game. If you want to catch a game in person, Game Time makes getting tickets even easier. Game Time's new feature, Game Time Picks, filters out the fluff and shows you only the best deals on great seats, so you're not wasting your time scrolling through thousands of tickets that you don't even want. I just checked the Game Time app. If you're looking for deals on not just basketball, but hockey games coming up, they've got them. Game Time Picks even highlights super deals, giving you the best bang for your buck. They got view from your seat, no surprise fees, and lowest price guarantee, so you can book your ticket with total confidence. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time.
Today's episode is also brought to you by Monarch Money. You ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility to take control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Instead of juggling multiple apps, just use Monarch to check your finances, track your spending, and even plan those long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay the same page without the stress. So use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. All right, Billsy, the sound you just heard was me flushing that Montreal Canadiens Ottawa Senators game from my memory bank, never to return again. Senators and Habs on April 11th is now a must-win game. Is that fair to say? No matter where the standings are at, you cannot be swept by the Habs this season.
100% it's a must-win game, Ross. But I am going to challenge you on saying you'll never remember that game again. I guarantee you, bookmark it, Sens Central Citizens. 3 years from now, we'll have a Sens Central Citizen on, and he'll be like, oh, my first Sens game was in Montreal, 2025 in March. And Ross will be like, that's the goal Travis Hamonic got. That's the game Travis Hamonic got a goal and an assist, and he hit the net twice in the same game. I guarantee you will not lose that memory.
Well, Pillsy, you said you wanted me to bring you back to the 9-game winning streak. Funny enough, I tried to. It was your birthday on Monday, and I used this photo This was from the Drake Batherson goal, the game-winning goal of the 9th win against Montreal.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. And then moments after this photo was taken, it's actually from a video, great video, was when Caulfield forgot the puck on his shootout attempt. That was just moments after this was taken. So I did try to bring you back to that moment just this week. Now, Senators living in the moment today will understand that the long-term success of this team is more important than beating the Montreal Canadiens. And as we wake up today, on March 19th, less than a month left in the regular season, the Ottawa Senators are the first wildcard team in the East. That's most important. Number one. Number two, they're the only team in the wildcard race with a plus goal differential. They're +5.
Huge.
They're also the team, I can't say this with certainty, but I might just speak and then find the facts
Just say
later.
it confidently.
The Ottawa Senators have the most home games remaining of any team in the wildcard race.
Yes, gotta be.
It's got to be close.
Yep.
LSP stats department is working to confirm.
Don't let stats get in the way of a good storyline.
I think I'm right. Pilsy, if you had shown this to an Ottawa Senators fan at the start of the season, what would they have said?
I mean, I can only speak for myself. I would have been pleased with this. I really thought, Ross, and things can change, but at this point in the season that the Sens would be somewhere where the Rangers, Islanders, Blue Jackets, Red Wings were, right? Like I kind of thought they would be in the hunt and they would have to really make a push. Like in my mind, I think I even said this in my preseason predictions. I had the Ottawa Senators making the last wild card spot on the last game of the season, getting 2 points that they need to pass a team to get in there. So for me, the fact that not only are they not on the outside looking in, but they're also the top wild card team that's in a good position with strength of schedule and lots of home games left and lots of games up against teams that are also in the race. We're in a very good position here. And our friends over at Money Puck, they still have the Sens at a 95.6% chance. Now, am I calling that a slam dunk? No, but being in the 90% gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling. And it's all going to come down to April. These next couple games obviously are going to be important, but April is when the Sens have the home games. It's when they have games up against the Blue Jackets, their last game up against the Habs. Like there are such huge games there. So for me, I'm going to try to stay even keel in March, and then April, I'm locking in and I might lose my mind one way or another.
How big was that comeback against the New York Rangers? Like do the math on if they lose that game in regulation. Ottawa would have 75 points. The Rangers and Habs would have 73. Like that comeback win, those 2 points, holy smokes, we could be looking back at that as well as being one of the most important victories this season. Now, I have confirmed the Senators have the fewest home games played in the Eastern Conference. Only the LA Kings have one fewer home game. Get this, though, with LA, brief aside. The LA Kings have played 30 home games, Pilsy. They're 23-3-4 at home. The LA Kings.
Wow.
So those are enormous games in hand for LA on the Western Conference. But Ottawa has 11 home games left. And then you have to go to Columbus has 2 less. So they've got 9 home games left.
And they've got a good home record, same as the Sens. Whew.
Montreal has 8 home games left, 7 home games left for Montreal. And then you got to go, like Boston only has 4 home games left this season.
I think.
Are we drawing the line there?
I'm kind of putting the done chain on Boston just because they have 2 extra games played as well. Like for them to make the push here would be really impressive. That's another reason, Ross, why I'm feeling good too, because the New York Rangers also have 2 more games played than the Sens and the Habs. Like I mentioned, obviously I would like to finish ahead of the Habs. Especially so that we can go back to a bookmark tweet of a certain Habs reporter that thought the Habs are going to finish ahead of them. We want to be able to send that back. But the fact
you've been vocal, you want Washington.
I've said that they're probably my ideal matchup. Yeah, but I don't care. Just get in, baby. Because this is the type of team where, and it's the type of franchise where we've been starved for so long. And these players, these fans, everyone's so hungry to get in. I'm not that worried about who the matchup is or where you are or how many home games you play, anything like that. You got to start 1 year getting in, getting that experience. And then in years further, once you have that experience in your belt, then you can start playing around with, okay, we want home games, we want this matchup, et cetera, et cetera.
But don't count out the New York Islanders. All of a sudden, they're 6-3-1 in their last 10, right? We were looking at them as a team like, are they done? They sell off at the deadline. Yeah. They've got the Habs tomorrow night. So either the Habs are going to have 75 points or the Islanders will jump just 1 point behind them. Like, that's another huge game for Montreal on the road against Patrick Roy and the New York Islanders. So, yeah, Ottawa's got to win one of the next two. I know you said April, but they got to win one of the next two. I don't really need it to be
the Devils game, right? Like, obviously,
and they're about to go up against two backup goalies. Scott Wedgwood is expected to play tomorrow. Blackwood's playing tonight in Toronto, and the Devils have already announced that Jake Allen will play Saturday and Jacob Markstrom will play Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you want to win your home games, but if you lose up against a Western team, especially a contender like Colorado, it's not the worst thing. I think I want to win both of them. Let me make that perfectly clear before people clip this and say I'm choosing to lose games. But I think it would be good to get some momentum on the road up against an Eastern Conference team and to kind of stifle the Devils as well.
Yeah, we'll see how it all shakes out. Just one game of note tonight. There's only two in the National Hockey League. The Colorado Avalanche, we're going to be cheering for them over the Toronto Maple Leafs. And then later on, the Minnesota Wild are hosting the Seattle Kraken. That game means nothing if you're an Ottawa Senators fan. Tomorrow, there's 14 games in the National Hockey League. We'll take you through that and a game day preview on tomorrow's show. For now, let's get to our interview with Senators Community Foundation President Jacqueline Belsito. We talk about the gala, the great success it was, and stay tuned for the Brady Tkachuk story about him in his rookie season and Jacqueline's first impression of the Senators captain. That's all next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Upwork. Are you scaling your business? Well, you need the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, developing, and design, and so much more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries like IT, AI, web development, and marketing. So whether you need extra hands for a project, quick, or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who has already delivered incredible results. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day, multiple quality candidates to choose from. Instead of hiring a full-time person, Upwork helps find affordable top-tier freelancers to scale your business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com, to connect with top talent and grow your business today.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
All right, we now welcome on a very, very special guest. We're heading to the CTC, where we find Jacqueline Belsito, the president of the Sens Foundation. Welcome to the Locked On Senators podcast. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm having a great day. Thanks. How are you guys doing?
Fantastic. People might recognize your background. We were just chatting with Tim Stützle there a couple weeks ago and Josh Norris. So it's great to see you jump on the show. It's been a long time coming, and the timing seems to be perfect right after the Sens Community Foundation Gala. What was the overall impact that had on the community? Because it looked like a great success from the papers we saw.
It was, you know what, the community really showed up for us that night. We grossed over $780,000 on the gala alone. And then we had a spectacular special moment with a local couple, Kyle and Rachel Bratz, who donated $2 million to the Sens Foundation to help kids at CHEO.
Yeah, the Bratz family, they really stole the show with that one. That was an awesome moment. And we just want to thank you for sending the invite for Ross and I to attend the gala. It was an absolutely amazing night. I couldn't believe when we walked in those doors, Ross, the 600 people there. I couldn't imagine all the preparation that goes into that. What was your overall opinion of how the night went? I mean, for us, it seemed like it was a home run.
Yeah, I think you should look in the mirror when you ask that question. And we really liked you guys being there. I think the feedback that we got from the people who were in the room, besides that it was, you know, the most stunning Rogers Center that they had experienced so far, but what they liked was that there was a warmth in the atmosphere where people were chatting and catching up with their colleagues. The whole team was out, all the players and the coaches and the ownership group, and everybody was sort of welcoming and warm. And that, I think that really added a lot to the evening. And then, you know, beyond the incredible money that we raised, but one of the things we also got feedback is having so many little kids there. They did different things throughout the evening, all super cute. And these kids were handpicked because those are the kinds of organizations that we want to help in the community.
Oh, and you did an amazing job of it. Now, Jacqueline, we do amazingly deep research on this show. In other words, I went to your LinkedIn, and you joined the Ottawa Senators in 2022, but you were coming from CHEO, where, I mean, a little bit of a symbolic relationship, I guess, between the Sens Foundation and CHEO. They've obviously been partners in a lot of areas. Was working for the hockey team ever something that was a dream of yours, a goal, or how did it come about that you jumped on board the Senators Foundation?
I can appreciate that question. I have been known to be an advocate and a face of CHEO for well over a decade, and I've been lucky enough to have 3 decades in sort of community and fundraising. But the opportunity to work for an NHL team is just so unique. I couldn't really pass that up. And the opportunity to sort of continue my journey and helping children and youth in the community was also really appealing for me. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been a strong fit. I often say to people that the Sens have given me a personal gift. And that personal gift was really better understanding what the pain points in the community are that the kids and the youth are facing. And they're wide and vast, including healthcare, but much beyond that. And it's given me that opportunity to understand that and then design a program that sort of ignites the community to just really solve those particular problems. So it's pretty unique. And hey, let's not kid ourselves. Working for the Sens and an NHL team is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Especially when you're from Ottawa. We got a little rivalry, though. You're a Glebe girl, aren't you, back in the day?
Are you from Lisgar or something?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, how did I just know that when I didn't even
know.
look at your LinkedIn? Come on.
Right? That's awesome.
A little in Ottawa rivalry, nothing wrong with that. Hey, we love the Glebe too. Ross is wearing his Glebe Central Pub hat, so we love the Glebe. I'm on the Sens Foundation page right now on the Ottawa Senators website. People listening and watching, you can go check it out for yourself. There's lots of good initiatives that you're involved with and leading. I'm just curious, of all the things going on with Sens Foundation, which is kind of the most unique experience or interesting experience for you? I mean, aside from the gala, we've already touched on that, so maybe you can shed some light on some other things.
Yeah, I think the foundation, we do a bunch of things, right? We do events, we do some community social responsibility nights throughout the season. And so that is something I don't think that's unique to the Sens, unique to me as a person relatively new in this role. But I'll give you a great example. April 3rd is Pride Night. It's presented by CIBC. That gives us a really interesting opportunity to open up a dialogue about hockey is for everyone. We specifically want to make sure that everyone gets a chance to play, whether it's just to learn or put a stick in hand or just be yourself. And that is a pretty powerful and unique opportunity that we're looking forward to. So that's coming up. And we've got some other things is people in the community are starting to realize that we're sort of reestablished. And we've got a couple of guys who are doing this walk to CTC. They're pretty ambitious. I'm going to cheer them on, but I'm not going to walk to CTC with them. And they're raising money for the Sens Foundation. And then there's a yoga group, and they've asked that Sparty do yoga with them too.
Wow. How's Sparty's flexibility?
Well, like how's Allmark's flexibility? It's pretty darn good.
There we go.
Oh, wait, is Sparty Linus Allmark?
No, it is not, but Sparty is Sparty.
We have seen Sparty and Linus Allmark on the ice together, Ross, so we can debunk that.
Correct. Yeah. And
thank you for clarifying me.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, hey, so there's all these events going on that you guys are a part of. What does the day-to-day in your life as president of the Sens Foundation look like?
Every day is a little bit different. I think working in an NHL environment, game days are a level of energy that's in the building that you can't help but get wrapped up in and excited, especially the way the guys are playing. And we're on that hunt, right, for a playoff spot or first round, right? So we're on the hunt. But we either talk to people who need help. We talk to people who want to help. We brainstorm as a team and particularly work quite closely with either our corporate team there's a lot of corporate philanthropists or a marketing team, because a big part of what we do is we shine a light on what the needs are in the community. And then we ask everybody to join us to go solve that problem. And so that's really our day to day.
Now, you mentioned you have a lot of experience working with Chio in the past, and you're excited that now you get to work with an NHL team. I'm just curious, how does working and doing charity work and all these initiatives with a hockey team, a sports team, how does that change the angle and approach that you have when it comes to being a part of the community?
Yeah, it's a great question. There are two. Yeah, it really is. There's two ways to look at that. So one of our superpowers is to shine a light on a cause and maybe something that is not as sexy as other causes, right? And so we have a big brand, we have a following, we have players who are all heart and they want to sort of talk about things, and they're often personally interested and motivated to opening up those dialogues. So from a charity conversation, what's different is everybody always wants a player, either a player or Michael. I always want them at all their events, in all of their advertising and everything like that. We totally appreciate that because they have a je ne sais quoi that can take a little charity and all of a sudden put it top of mind. And so that conversation and being able to manage those expectations respectfully, carefully, but also not making promises on behalf of people that we really got to be mindful about that. So that's one part, and that's new and unique, quite unique to working with any athlete. I mean, anybody who works with, whether it's professional athletes or amateur athletes, then sort of navigates those tricky waters. And that's why agents are a big deal. On the other side, I think what's really cool is in the last 2 years, what I've seen, and I'm in a very privileged position where I get to see some of the guys respond to the community. And what I see is the depth of the character, the genuine interest and sort of sense of curiosity of, what is happening, or how do I get involved in that? Or can you help me solve a problem or understand how maybe I can move forward mental health, as an example, for kids and youth. And so to me, that has grown, and that is just like working with any other person. They just happen to be people's heroes.
Well, I think that's a perfect lead in. I wanted to bring up the Tkachuk Captains program that you guys were a part of, a skate with kids. It kind of brings the community, the youth, everything all together there. What's it like having a captain in Brady Tkachuk? And we know him just a little smidge of what the whole story is, of how passionate he is about the community. What's it been like working with him as the leader of that group of players that, as you mentioned, are so popular around the community?
He's outstanding. He's a really big guy who probably the biggest organ in his whole body is his heart. And like, he's an impressive guy, right? And I'm tall, and I'm like, oh my God. He is all heart. He's authentic. He is approachable. And here's a fun fact. The first time I met Brady, it was his first year on the team. I was working for Chio at the time. He still is, but you could tell he's like, everybody wants to talk to him, right? And he was hot, like brand new on the team. And we were at a gala, and he walked in, and there was this little girl, and she was walking with a wheelchair. And he didn't have time for anyone else. He went right to that girl. Not much longer after they were having a conversation, he was on the dance floor with that girl, and he was having a great time. And you know what? That was my first impression of him, and it hasn't changed. It's only deepened his genuine interest in kids, in particular BGC. He is interested that kids have the opportunity to play or create community, have access to sport, have access to like nutritious food. Like, those are things that I think he knows that he has those available to him, but he wants to make sure that there's pathways for other kids to do that.
What a fantastic answer. I'm glad I brought that up. So we know that he's a leader on the ice, and it's great to hear that continues into the community as well. Jacqueline, final question from me, and we appreciate you so much for jumping on with us, and we implore everybody to go check out the Sens Foundation, all the great work that the Community Foundation is doing. We actually put $118 in as part of our buzz cut bet with Timmy last couple weeks, and it's just a small fraction of what we're hoping to accomplish in the playoffs. Maybe put some money on the board when things get really spicy down the way. Speaking of money on the board, the live auction was a smashing success at the Sens Gala. What would you have been bidding on? Would it have been the dinner with Tim Stützle at the German embassy with all the schnitzel, all the bratwurst that you can get? Would you have wanted a round of golf with Drake Batherson? Would you have been playing paddle with Daniel Alfredson and company? What sparked your interest the most of all of the great prizes that were raffled off?
So I heard the dinner. So the German embassy did a dinner with Timmy, and he loved it because he could speak in his own language. And I'm a big Timmy fan. The golf with Drake, I'd probably have to be his caddy because otherwise I'd be too embarrassed.
He is the NHL's best golfer too. So the
all-time apparently. That's what the auctioneer said.
I think I'd want to hang out with him because his pride for his sister and her athleticism is so evident. I don't know him enough. I need to hang out with him more. And then what was the third one?
Paddle Alfie. With Alfie.
I'm like a pickleballer. I'm not paddling with Alfie.
Oh. Yeah, that would be a tough match too. I've heard Alfie gets pretty competitive.
Hey, want to get your ass kicked for 4 hours? Yeah, sign me up.
He's no mercy, right? Like I can't imagine. He's whipping the guys into shape, and he'd be out on the court, and he'd think that we were playing for the team, and he'd be right in our face. Like, no, thank you. I'm not paying for that.
Yeah, all fun events, so one way or another. Final question for me here, Jacqueline, is you mentioned Pride Night as one of the nights going on in the upcoming future. Is there any other game day initiatives that the Sens Foundation is a part of that you want to advertise or let people know about?
So we're coming up to the end of our regular season, and then we've got some Fan Fest activities. So what we are going to do is we're going to launch an auction, a Sens celebration auction, and there's some pretty cool stuff there. So it runs April 11th to April 17th, and there's over 70 signed items. I think there's something from every single player. So that's kind of cool. So I would say that would be something for your listeners to pay attention to. You just go on Sens or sensfoundation.com and keep an eye on our socials. But that would be something that you want to pay attention to have some fun as we go into our first round of playoffs.
And you can find the Senators Community Foundation on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you are on social media. Jacqueline, really appreciate you coming on. Thank you for all the insight, and hopefully we'll see you at a playoff game this spring at the CTC.
Well, I really appreciate it. And please feel free. I'm a fundraiser, so I like to invite myself places. So feel free to invite me back.
All right, Pillsy, great conversation with Jacqueline. Make sure to support the Senators Community Foundation in whichever way you can. They're doing great things all across Ottawa, and cool to get a little background. I love that Brady Tkachuk story, the first impression, and it checks out with just how he is away from the cameras.
Yeah, I mean, we saw him at the gala, Ross, when those kids were doing the songs. Brady was vibing big time. I thought he was going to get up there and do a solo himself, and he made sure to give all the kids a high five, a fist bump, a handshake, anything like that. So it just, it's another person that can shed light on the good people that are involved in this team and how much the Ottawa Senators, their fans, the community wants to boost the community and help people whenever and however they can.
Well said. So thank you to Jacqueline for joining us. Pillsy, any final thoughts on today's show?
On to Colorado, Ross. Let's move on. We don't need to worry about that game anymore. We've done a postcast. We did a recap. I don't want to think about it anymore. Let's go.
What game?
There we go. Attaboy.
It's always so funny, though, when Western Conference teams come to the Loop, Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, because you cheer hard for them in 2 of the 3 games, and then you want them to lose horribly in the third.
Well, Ross, we hope that the Ottawa Senators will beat the Avs in regulation, so they've got fresh legs up against the Avs.
Okay, sounds good. Lots to get to tomorrow on the show. Game day preview. Why is Colorado such an Achilles heel for Ottawa? I'm not going to tell you the exact numbers today, but it's been a tough sled for Ottawa against the Avalanche in the last number of years. We'll get to that tomorrow. For today, we say goodbye. If you missed the postcast, go find it everywhere you get podcasts. Thank you for liking, watching, listening, and engaging with the show. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.